Hydrate power. You're in the dog zone for an hour. Come on. You know the number. 1-900 hot dog. 1-900 hot dog. 1-900 hot dog. Yeah, 9,000.
Welcome to the Dog Zone 9000, the official podcast of 1-900hotdog.com. It's the final website. Go to our Patreon and subscribe to get the classic combination of journalism and comedy the rest of the world decided to outsource to robots and show to robots to generate ads for robots. We're at patreon.com/1900hotdog. Subscribing keeps alive the idea of humans writing jokes, along with bonus podcasts and Discord events. I'm Seanbaby from the internet, and my co-host is an official Buns calendar man as soon as Congress passes the bill to introduce the month of Hunkvember. He's Robert Brockway.
Write your Congress people, folks. I mean, change starts with you. Here's a Brockway fact. I'm the face model for your least favorite video game character. No follow-up questions.
So relevant to today's podcast. We're joined again by Horse Psychic and Dead Horse Psychic. She's Lydia Bugg, brought to you by the new Tropical Dead Horse Starburst.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a joy in my life.
Excellent. It's always great to have you. We've obviously been working together for a long time now. We've unearthed hundreds of dark and forbidden artifacts together. How do you think this show, Playing It Straight, ranks among them?
Oh, it's pretty freaking high. I've been referring to it as the gay hunting show. Yeah, I'd say on a hot dog scale of 1 to 10, this is like a solid 9, 8.5.
Wow.
Yeah, it's up there. You could
That's
literally.
Very solid score.
If this was called Gay Hunter, nobody would bat an eye. It would be the exact same show.
Yeah.
Yep. It'd be almost more descriptive because Playing It Straight, you could be like, oh, is it a show about ethics? Like, oh, no, the opposite. Far
Oh, very much not. No.
But Gay Hunter, you're like, yeah, I know what that show is.
If it came out today, that's what it would be called, the simplified title.
Let's plug something before we get too far into talking about, I guess we're calling it Gay Hunter now, to be more accurate. Where can people find more of you, besides, of course, 1-900hotdog.com?
Yes, every Monday on 1-900hotdog.com and also on all social media as at Lydia, like YOUKNOW Lydia, because I was more concerned with being clever than easy to find.
That's the way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
There's probably someone out there with like the @cool and just nobody cares. He's like, everyone's going to come to me because I have the coolest name. No, nobody's going to give a shit.
Speaking as a foundational member of 1-900hotdog, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Let's recap to the listeners. We watched the first 2 episodes of the nightmare of early 2000s reality trash, Playing It Straight. If you haven't listened yet, go back. And also, we're sorry. I'm sorry on behalf of all straights and all of 2004. The show was fucked. Liddy, you want to just quickly explain, just in case no one listened to me right now and they didn't go back and watch, or they've just forgotten the premise entirely.
Yeah, so there's a 21-year-old girl, far too young to make the decision to be on this show, I feel like, who was told she was going to be on a regular reality show like The Bachelorette, where just a bunch of men compete for her love, and then was told when she got there, actually, what's happening is some of these men, we're not going to tell you how many, but spoiler alert, it's a lot, are actually gay.
Yeah.
And at the end of the competition, if you choose any straight man to fall in love with, then you win and you get $1 million to split with the straight man you have chosen. However, if you choose a gay man who has infiltrated your heart, then he gets $1 million, and you get nothing.
That's a very, very good recap. We all watched the final episode for this podcast episode. We are now allowed to do our own research. So we all come in now after being allowed to Google around on the show to see the winner and like what happened, where are these men now, what murders did they commit. I actually watched the entire series. Before we talk, just let me quickly run you through the whole thing. It honestly shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. It is a terrible show. And over the course of 40 minutes, maybe half a thing will happen.
That's amazing because I have questions. I after seeing the final episode, I need to know what happened to Luciano and all that.
If you remember at the end of episode 2, Jackie kicked out episode 1, she kicked out 2 straight men. Because she is a dumb idiot with a conservative grandmother's gaydar. And in the second episode, she kicked off 2 more men and only one of them was straight. And here's what's crazy. As you both know, I'm sure by now, of the 14 starting men, only 5 of them were straight. So she'd already kicked off 3 of the 5 straight men after 2 episodes. So her gaydar is bad. And to remind you of how bad her gaydar is, one of the straight men she kicked off for being a secret gay had just turned down a man for sex in a hot tub. Not by saying, hey, we can't fuck now. We got to play it cool until the end of the show. He ran out of the hot tub and said, ha ha ha, Eddie is gay. He just tried to make out with me in the hot tub. And between those 2 options, she decided Eddie, the man who tried to have sex with the other one, was the straight one. So we learn at the start of episode 3 that Eddie has left the show. I guess trying to have sex with a straight man in a hot tub after a couple tequilas let at least him know he wasn't cut out for pretending to be a heterosexual. Even for this, the dumbest woman to ever travel forward in time 200 years.
So he just quit. He was just like...
He just quit.
Did they reveal his orientation?
Yes, he's gay.
Oh, I don't know if I. I don't know if I like that.
We did see him try to have sex with a man in a hot tub.
I don't know if I like it if one of the gay men mysteriously disappears and then the producers come out and just go, "He was gay. Let's move on."
Yes. It's weird you said was. He may very well still be gay out there somewhere. We didn't see the body.
I just wondered if he just came in with some questions and then answered them for himself, and then they were like, "Well, now our numbers are all off," or something. Like,
right? No, I think he was verified gay before they started the show. He was also very flamboyant. Like they had a lot of clips of him on the show, like theatrically singing "I am from Cuba," things like that, where you're like, that didn't seem heterosexual to me, but whatever. The point is, Eddie's gone through no fault of Jackie's. And the next episode, she kicked off Chad, who had just completely stopped pretending to be straight. He was just like having fun with the boys. But she kicked him off seemingly at random and was absolutely shocked when she found out he was gay. Next, she kicked off Lee and John, if you remember them, mostly because they hadn't, who would? They hadn't tried to sleep with her. And again, she was very shocked when she found out these men were gay.
Yeah, that was her whole like method of testing them seemed to be who was groping her and who was not. And it's like, do you think gay men never kiss women? Like, she
was still stuck on like such antiquated stereotypes. Like there was an interview I saw with her where she was like talking about Judy Garland. Like, yeah, normally the gay men you could tell because they like Judy Garland. And I'm like, who told
this
you?
This is 2004. They don't even know who she is.
Yeah, her daughter is elderly at this point. Lee and John, yes. I wanted to say that Lee was a gay Republican, which is more of a Mad TV sketch than a coherent idea for a person. To be fair to Jackie, how would you know? Yeah. So I did not find much about Lee. There can't be too many gay Republicans out there, so I should have been able to Google him, but nothing really came up. He kind of vanished.
I found all of these guys really hard to Google, which I felt like was probably their intention.
They did not give their last names in almost anything that I could find. There was only a handful that had like last names attached, because the rest of them, rightfully so, were just like, I'm going to disappear into a dark corner of pop culture.
A couple of them really did have, like, they realized what they were doing was wrong. Like, they're like, I'm hurting a woman. I'm doing a thing I like swore I would stop doing after I came out in high school. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm pretending to be a person I'm not. For whom? For what? And like they
$1 million.
Yeah, yes, of course.
It's that $1 million, man.
So episode 5 is when shit started to get crazy. This is when they arm wrestle for Jackie's love. And Luciano, who has twice the width of the other men, is just over the topping his way through every single man until he gets to Banks. Now, Banks has decided he's going to defeat Luciano despite physics. I don't quite know how to explain this, but he basically invents a nutcracker with his own humorous. And hubris, I guess. He commits so hard to winning this impossible match that he twists his body in a way that his arm had like fucking no choice but to snap in half. And he immediately just goes into shock and lays down to die. He just doesn't say anything. He's not like, oh, Jesus, guys, call a hospital. He's just like fucking quietly lays down to die. He's not trying to spin it in any way.
Shit.
So here's where I learned that something's going to sound obvious after I say it. If you want to see who in a room is gay, snap a man in half, because all of the gay men gasped like cartoon housewives hiding from a mouse. It is hilarious. Luciano, who just broke the man's arm, had to walk away and cry, and he spent the rest of the episode weeping and apologizing. And So here's where we see the emergence of the show's Ozymandias. It's Chris. Now, Chris is gay, obviously and unashamedly gay, which means he has a working gaydar and he has turned informant. His strategy on the show is all strategies except seducing Jackie. So he tells Jackie that Bradley and Luciano are gay, and she just believes him because why wouldn't she? She's an idiot. He's not trustworthy or anything. She just doesn't know it's an option to trick people. She wants to check out his theory. So she's like, hey, Bradley, come make out with me. And Bradley kind of grew on me. I started calling him Blowjob Lip Val Kilmer. And he melts her. He starts making out with her and she just turns into a puddle. And then she makes out with Luciano. She's like, Luciano, I want to check and see if you're gay. He makes out with her and her panties melt right the fuck off her body. Doesn't even try to hide it. She's just like, oh, Luciano, Luciano. Like he can't even leave the room because she's just like calling his name. She's now a horny puddle. And then she kicks them both off the show because Chris told her they were gay.
Oh my God. So is this the same episode where the guy breaks his arm or is this right after?
Yes. Yeah, same
it's
episode.
The same episode?
Yeah.
It's just the guy, she breaks a man's arm and then she makes out with him. And then she kicks him off? Wow.
For being gay. Yeah, because she heard he was gay.
This is the most confusing thing that has ever or will ever happen to Luciano. Like, his life must have been relatively simple, being that beautiful, up until right now.
Yep.
And then
he didn't know life could be hard until now. To be fair, Bradley also kind of fucked up and he said, like over the campfire, he's like, man, I'd love to win that $1 million. I mean the $500,000 because of my straightness.
It's like hair dryer all over again. God damn.
Yeah, that's way worse than hairdryer gate.
Yeah, they covered that extensively on the show that he also owns a hairdryer. So now Chris is her worm tongue and she trusts him completely because he was right about these two dudes. He tells her that he doesn't need the money because he was a software developer and then he got into real estate. So he legitimately does not need the $1 million. He's here for the love, but he never tries to touch her. As far as the editing shows, he's the only one to try any money schemes because you hear $1 million, you're like, okay, this is enough money to kill a man over, or at the very least, wheel and deal. You'd be like, okay, Jackie, look, I know we're not clicking, but I will give you 200,000 of the 500,000. You know what I mean? You would try to negotiate with all this money. He's the only one who tries that. He's like, if you pick me, I will donate my $500,000 to charity. And even he's kind of put the 500,000 in quotes. He's like, the 500,000, because we're not pretending I'm straight. Anyway, it's fucking nuts. More guys didn't try stuff like this. I feel like out of 14 guys, at least 10 of them would have told her, pick me and I'll give you some money. It's
amazing more gay men didn't just make an alliance here and be like, okay, let's all get $150,000 and just get this bitch out.
Absolutely.
Well, you have to remember, too, is that the producers were telling them, you're doing social justice. You're doing good in the world with our good show, So I think that's why the money
I can't believe they tried to spin that.
Yeah.
Imagine the absolute meltdown they had if they only put 5 straight men on the show, and then after the second episode, 3 of them are gone. They suddenly have to face the idea, oh shit, we could knock out all of the straight men in the 4th episode very easily here. They have to go into rigged mode. At the very least, into telling, trying to steer the gay men. I'm sure they told Luciano, it's time to arm wrestle.
You gotta butch it up. And he went way too far, snapped a man in half, and then cried the rest of the episode. And she was kind of suspicious of the crying. She's like, I read somewhere that gay men cry a lot. And Luciano has been crying for 4 straight hours. I'll have to work in Wizard of Oz in there later to see if he enjoys the works of Judy Garland.
I mean, Banks is set after that, though. Banks is just, you broke your arm trying to out-straight a gay man. I don't even know what that is, but it's the straightest thing I've ever heard.
Well, yeah, if Jackie wants to win, Banks is the obvious choice from that exact moment on. You pick him. Obviously, he broke his arm. That's the straightest shit that's ever happened.
So straight. Luciano, when he got kicked off, actually dropped the only slur that they left in the show. Here, Banks comes back from the hospital, with his arm strapped to his torso, just in so much pain he can barely talk. And Luciano says, what are you going to tell your friends? You got your ass kicked by a And it hits like a record scratch. Even in 2004, people are like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh my God.
Luciano, just totally turned into like alpha dickhead once he saw like what he'd done. He saw this weak little man and he's just like, you know what? Maybe I did dominate this little bitch.
Maybe I was wrong to cry for 4 hours.
He got all of the weakness out of his body with those tears.
I know I'll admit to being gay in my threat to him.
That's how Jackie found out.
That was a weird thing for a straight man to say. Huh.
Yeah, kind of. Suspicious. So in the next episode, she kicks off Bill, who is, he's a murderer. I have a clip here of some of his greatest hits.
There could very well be a murder here instead of just being eliminated.
Oh,
If
God.
I had a pair of scissors, I would love to chop every single one of his fingers off.
If I find out that Chris is stabbing us in the backs, then I'm gonna murder him.
And she just like, haha, you know what, I'm kidding, game face, hee hee hee, and it's just, you just want to wring her neck.
And her and Sharif are kissing. And it's just like the first thought that came to my head is like, where is my gun?
Oh, God.
You know, behind the scenes, we're secretly plotting his death. As far as Sharif goes, other than breaking his fingers so he can't play piano, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I had him leaning over the bench, just thinking about strangling him a little bit and just kind of finishing it off, but.
Oh, my God.
And I was actually very, very comfortable going into the boudoir date with Jackie. I went in there, I was, you know, wasn't nervous or anything, and I sat down and just, she had this look over her face like I had like just murdered her mother or something.
Hi.
How you doing?
After I had left the room with Jackie, I was really angry. I knew that it was Chris that was spreading the rumors about me. I was ready to rip his face off, and I was on a mission. I left that room and I was tracking him down no matter where he was.
I pretty much told him that, you know, I know what you said, and I wanted to rip his head off. I mean, I was just so close.
That went on for so much longer than I thought.
Yeah. You should not be able to get that much footage of that.
I agree. So here's the thing. I think he might have been pretending to be a murderer to look straight.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
It worked. He came across real heterosexual with all those threats of violence right up until Chris had a conversation with him. And Chris was like, oh, you're gay. And then he went and told Jackie. Then Jackie told Bill, he's like, hey, yeah, Chris said you were gay. And then Bill's like, that is not okay. And so he confronted Chris. And instead of murdering him, what he did, I want to try to describe this carefully. He pirouetted into the room, threw his riding cape to the side, and theatrically declared, whatever split-end whore is in here spreading rumors about me, she better know what's going to backfire because two can play this game and I'm the true rumor queen.
Oh.
He was so fancy when he came in there to deliver his threat. It went from I'm going to rip his face off to I will start a rumor about how you are actually the gay miss. Banks was laying there with a broken arm eating snacks, and when they left, he said, those ladies were catfighting. It's like the only wit he managed through like this traumatic injury.
He's probably like high as shit on pain pills,
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
That's the way to do this show, honestly.
Yeah.
She kicks him off because Chris said he was gay, and he was very right. Episode 7, the final 3 men are Sharif and Banks, the 1.75 remaining straight men, and Chris, the gay informant. And they tell Jackie not to kick anyone. The producers come in and they say, don't kick anyone off, probably because she would have kicked Chris off. And then the show is just a woman picking a boyfriend for $1 million fucking dollars. They have to maintain the drama like maybe she'll pick a gay guy all the way to the end. In the end, she never learned anything. She never took a single lesson from every single time she was wrong. She's gotten to second base with at least 3 gay men, and she's still treating them like this Judy Garland monolith. Like she doesn't know anything about them other than things her terrible racist bigoted father told her in 1968. So that's it. That you're caught up. That's the recap. That took 5 minutes. That was about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What an amazing strategy by Bill. Because,
Yeah.
Smart.
because, yes, she's going to think, okay, he's got a lot of anger problems. That's very straight.
Mhm.
But I do have to pick a man to walk out of here with. Am I going to pick the murderer?
Right. He just went too far. It's such a
He
hard
just
line
forgot
to
that
walk.
women don't like to be murdered, is what he forgot. He's like, straight men like to murder. I'm going to do that. Oh, wait, straight women don't like to be murdered. Whoops. That backfired.
I am kind of proud of her for ending up with the guy who broke his arm wrestling, obviously very straight, and the guy who will not stop playing guitar at her, which I learned.
Yeah, the second he played that acoustic guitar, I was like, you're the straightest man here.
Yeah, it was like straight up the scene from the Barbie movie where all the guys are playing the like Matchbox 20 song. Yeah, it was that. I was like, okay, so he's definitely straight. Got it.
Yeah, 100%. And he wrote a really vague song that he can insert any woman's name into. Got it. Yes, that's incredibly straight.
That's a straight guy. There's a moment that's so great where she's like, her strategy became just asking men over and over if they were gay or straight. Sharif decided instead of just constantly saying I'm straight, he went in to make out with her, and she stopped him and she says, no, too many gay men have made out with me. That doesn't prove anything.
So I've made out with too many gay men. I can't make out with any more straight men.
So funny. So Sharif got like really screwed on the last few dates. Like, so I think she was going to pick him. One of the producers said that her strategy was basically, she immediately knew Sharif was straight. She's like either had chemistry with him or read a book about straight men during her childhood that let him know that since he didn't know who Judy Garland was, he was a heterosexual man. And so she was just like, I'm going to just keep him on the show until the very end. But she had so many bad dates with him that were just kind of boring and nothing happened. And you know how I know that is because they put the whole fucking thing in the show. So she decided, okay, I'm just going to go with Banks instead. And she just got lucky that Banks was a heterosexual. Well, not lucky. I mean, she saw him break his arm. It was pretty straight.
Yeah, Banks and Sharif are the only totally safe bets at that point.
Yeah, but it was so clear that she had more fun with Chris than any of them. Her date with Chris, she seemed so happy compared to her dates with the other two guys.
And the way he threw himself into like the gossip part of the game was just immediately, you should know. Like this is a game, weirdly enough, that gay men are completely built for. The gay men will truly thrive in this game and would love it. So the guy most into the game, you're a little suspicious.
What's crazy though here is that she picked Banks, and of course the rest is history, but not really, because they never aired most of the show. Like we said last podcast, people were so uninterested in this homophobic boomer shit that they canceled it after 3 episodes. But the producers did not know that'd be the case. So after Banks wins Jackie, they don't get to see each other for 2 months, and then they extended that to 8 months as like television broadcast delays happened. So they were so worried about protecting the secrecy of the show, they forbade these lovers to see each other for most of a year. And they broke up a few months later because she was 21 with $500,000 and he was 30 and already completely tired of life. He did say in an interview that he'd be down to get back together. So I think she might have done the dumping. But yeah, that's their relationship, is like they had a bunch of phone calls over the course of 8 months while they hid from the world to protect the secrecy of a show no one cared about or saw. You might have spotted this in your research. This was almost a full copy of a show that came out the year before called Boy Meets Boy. It was a gay dating show where a hunk picked from 15 men in Palm Springs, and there were secret straights among them. So almost the exact same premise, gender swapped, except the prize was $25,000. So this terrible knockoff cowboy nonsense cost 40 times more. And I think, which again, didn't air, just wasted money. But I think the price difference is because when you betray a man, who gives a shit? You tell a man, haha, you had sex with a heterosexual, he gives you a high five. Whereas I think Jackie would have literally shot herself on TV if she found out that she picked a gay man at the end of the show.
Yeah, she was a reed of a woman. A strong wind would end that person's life.
She cried about the betrayal like when she found out the premise.
I like that they actually had a template for how to do this ethically.
Yep.
They actually had the right way to do this with the moral amount of money that doesn't end in an elaborate conspiracy to murder, and also has the gay men in more of a position of power and not necessarily being hunted by straight men in 2004. Like, they had a template for this. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, what if we did that but evil?
Yeah, I would love to have been in the meeting where they decided $1 million was the price tag for this. And it seemed like so many of them were not that concerned about the money, which is so
weird.
Crazy.
They never brought it up. Chris is the only one.
I don't want to jump ahead too far, but like one of the most shocking things I discovered in the research was that this was canceled here after 3 episodes, and rightfully so. and then got several spin-offs in other countries that were actually very successful.
Yes, what was the name of the one from the Netherlands, Brockway?
I'm not going to take that from you.
Okay. It was called Herken de Homo.
It doesn't translate to what you think.
No, it's recognize the gay. It sounds
doesn't
like
sound great, though.
The way the Swedish chef would say it, for sure.
Herken de Homo. Yeah. Like, what did that fucking asshole say?
you piece of shit. I knew it. I've always known it.
So I was reading that that the two women who pitched this show were just trying to pitch shows. Like, they're like, hey, give us 5 ideas for shows. And they gave them 5 ideas, and this is the one they picked, which, as writers, I'm sure you've had this happen where someone asks for multiple pitches. They always fucking pick your worst one, where they're like, give us 5 pitches. Like, okay, I'll give you the one I want to write. And then I guess here's 4 to fill the assignment. And they're like, write up the bad one, write up the torturous, shitty one you didn't want to do. So I think it might have been that type of situation.
I've dug into her a little bit. One of them, Kim McQuarrie. This had to be that situation, but a little bit. It was like sometimes you put the one you want to write, and then you're like, I know what they're going to do. So you make the others so bad, there's no way they can pick it. And I think that's what she was doing, where she's like, nobody's gonna pick Gay Hunter, the show where you hunt gays. They're going to pick the real thing I want to do, because what she was known for before this was like serious environmental documentaries. And you go through and it's just like serious environmental documentary after serious environmental documentary, and then playing it straight.
There is an anthropologist vibe to this show.
Yeah, like they thought this was activism. She was like, I'm helping the world with this show for sure.
It does seem like one of those things that only works in academia, and then you tell it to somebody outside of like your college, and they're like, is this like the Stanford experiment?
Yeah.
Is this are we doing that again?
She's behind like a sequin blind in a Palm Springs drag queen bar. Like, I'm studying them in their own habitat. They living among the gays for weeks. I couldn't find Jackie anywhere. She did a tiny amount of press saying like basic ignorant shit before vanishing completely. I think it doesn't help that she shares a name with the Tom Arnold Show, so that sucks for her. But yeah, Tom Arnold did a show called The Jackie Thomas Show, and that's this woman's name.
I think she deserves to have her pop culture legacy stolen by Tom Arnold.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think that's an appropriate. I think that's an appropriate ironic fate for this is how I would twist the wish she made if I was her genie.
Yeah, the only way I thought we were going to find her was if she was like a Mormon momfluencer on TikTok or something.
I was pretty sure I was going to find her after Bill killed her.
Yeah, they really should like check that guy's basement on a monthly basis.
At the very least for Eddie, because we still have not found him.
He was gay.
There was a show developed almost around the same time as this. Called Gay, Straight, or Taken, which was the same fucking shit. A woman went on a date with 3 men, and they were like the title of the show. And do you know who it starred? Did you find this in your research?
I didn't find that one.
No, I found another one I want to talk about too, but not this one.
It starred a man named Luciano. He did this again.
After breaking a man's arm?
Yep. He's like, I'm really good at pretending to be straight. I'm going on a different reality show about it.
No, you're beautiful. There's a difference. You're so beautiful that you're like, I'm going to fucking take a swing.
He was on a gay episode of Millionaire Matchmaker 8 years later, where they tried to stud him out to some rich guy. But there was no betrayal. It was just what it sounds like. They just were like, would you like to purchase Luciano? And I don't think he did. But,
yes, please.
I'll take 2. I'll take, break each of them.
Settle down, bro.
So Luciano is just a hot guy who lives in LA who will go on any show that you ask if he wants to be on it. That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
I found his Instagram. That is his job. It's that, and his most notable job was he became the face model for Kaiden Alenko in Mass Effect, who is the worst character in Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Everybody hates him. My favorite quote that I found digging into this was from Reset Era. Kaiden is just so boring. I've always killed him. Ashley is a space racist, which is at least something.
At least something. Yeah, I didn't use him. He was obviously overqualified to woo some small town homecoming queen, but like you put him up against a parrotfish linebacker and a sex psychic, and I'm like, what Commander Shepard is going to use generic white guy in his party? It's fucking stupid. But that was Luciano. That was our beautiful Luciano. You put him in the context of outer space and you're like, who's this fucking generic creative wrestler? Get him out of here.
Now, if they had made him like a professional gay manipulator, which is eventually what we would turn him into, what our broken society would do to him, that would have been more interesting. I would have picked him.
That is a pretty interesting feat to take. A lot of role-playing options with that ability.
Speaking of shows where men pretend to be straight or whatever sexual orientation they're not, did you guys find Seriously, Dude, I'm Gay?
Yeah.
I did, yes.
It appears to be just like they like gaslighting everyone in their lives. Like their family, they come out to their family and friends and they follow them around as they like have their journey of like being publicly gay. And then at the end, they're like, just kidding, everyone. I'm actually straight. This was all for a game show.
See, I found it because this show, because Playing It Straight did so badly that Fox like preemptively canceled Seriously, Dude, I'm Gay. It never actually existed. It was going to be a 2-hour special where 2 straight men were competing for $50,000. That's a moral amount of money, at least. And that's the only moral part of this. Where they had to pretend to be gay for a week, but and you're like, oh, whatever, 50,000, whatever. Part of it, was you come out to your friends and family, which then for the rest of their lives are thinking like, okay, but was that maybe a little real?
Or there's a chance you just don't talk to those people again, and they just go on with their lives, and they're like, oh yeah, he came out. And they're like, no, that was a joke. Like, I have thought that was serious for 20 years. Are you a fucking lunatic?
Hey, what's funny about that? I don't know. It was 2004. That was enough. I love it because its marketing tagline was a heterosexual man's worst nightmare, turning gay overnight.
Oh my God.
That's what they marketed it with. And they promised that they would be judged by a jury of their queers.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah, they published it. I mean, it was 2004, but that feels much.
There is a vibe in all of these of like, it's a little bit like a horror movie. Like they showed montages on this show of the men acting like kind of gay, what they decided was gay. Like, you know, he's putting on a little hat. Oh, he's like winking. And then they played this like horrifying soundtrack over it as if you're like watching a serial killer stalk a woman in a movie.
I think maybe this is one of those really cool subtle horror movies where you have to look in the background and you would see like Bill stalking Eddie throughout these. You just weren't looking. You were drawn away by the hat. You were like, I'm going to focus on the hat when the real horror was unfolding in the background. And the real horror was Bill.
They're like, uh-oh, look out. He's looking in the mirror. Uh-oh. And in the background, Bill's just like stalking through with a butcher knife drawn.
I like that Bill rightfully became the villain here because he's one of the very few people you could find more info on. And he apparently, if that's actually him in IMDb, is not getting his name confused with another guy with the same name. He went on to become assistant accountant for Spider-Man Homecoming.
I saw that, yes. Yeah.
That's where his big break led him.
I didn't put too much stock in it just because, like, when you have only a first name on IMDb, like, you never know what last name they're going to dump you on. And so all the guys on this IMDb page were just like, okay, I'll check out and see what Chris is doing. And it's just like, yeah, Chris was in a 1944 film about tap dancing. I'm like, I don't think that's the same guy.
Well, I found Bill Bouvier was his first and last name, and that was linked to an accountant. And I don't know if it's the same guy, but I love to think that that's his big break. And he was like, finally, I'm going to get into assistant Hollywood accounting.
That got his foot in the door with this show, and now he's telling Spider-Man how much those costumes cost. Great job, Bill. Why do our stuntmen keep disappearing? We keep finding weird trails of blood off into the swamp.
But it turns out we can afford it, weirdly enough.
Yeah, the numbers look great.
Yeah.
It's like they budgeted for their disappearance.
I don't think I have any more notes on the final thing. Do you guys have notes for the final episode? I was on the road all weekend, so...
My favorite thing I found was actually really, really easy to find. It was just on the Wikipedia page, and it was a summary of basically how the show went. But it's a gay table. It's a straight and gay table. If you're listening to this, go to the Playing It Straight Wikipedia page and scroll down to find the gay table.
I feel like every show should have this.
Every show should have this, and next to the names, you will see a series of descriptors that say safe, safe, out. So we're proclaiming which gay men are safe and which are not. I just found that a very appropriate legacy for this show.
Agreed.
It's crazy how that big chunk in the middle that were all gay, and it really made me think about how Brockway and I were both like, I think all of them were gay, and we were freaking close.
I think we also picked out the few that we would think were straight, and we're straight. It was like, yeah, that you really weighted this, I hate to say it, but gaily? That feels wrong, but that is what happened.
I was going to say that when I went back to make the Bill as a Murderer supercut, I watched a lot of the show again, obviously, and it with the context of knowing who's gay later, it's more interesting. Like, especially the square dancing, when they all paired up for square dancing, a lot of those were just two gay men square dancing together, having a little hoedown, and it was like you could sort of tell they're having fun. You know what I mean? And I guess like a lot of the scenes take on like an improvisational thing, like it's a bunch of like bad theater actors having a nice time together, doing exercises, rather than like the unethical, terrible gay hunt that the show actually was. So I don't know. I feel like there's a way to tell this story in a way that that isn't so awful.
Yeah, we found it before we made this show, and it's to only pay them $50,000 and have the gay men, have the straight men be the ones who are hiding.
Right.
We knew that.
And also, I feel like we were onto something when we said just have none of them be gay or none of them be straight, and it's just an experiment in whatever everyone's idea of that is.
And then at the end, whichever gay man tricked her the hardest that she winds up with gets the $1 million, and there was never a scenario where she gets anything. That's the best way to do
The
this.
very first piece of research that I did that I immediately ran to do was, what year did Brokeback Mountain come out? Do you guys? I know Sean knows. Do you know Brockway?
No, but it has to be around now.
Yeah, so Playing It Straight comes out with its very cowboy themed, ranch life themed, this is for straight people show, 2004. Brokeback Mountain comes out 2005.
Oh, they did it first.
Can you imagine if this inspired Brokeback Mountain?
It had to have. There's not enough room. Imagine if there were two gay cowboys.
Yeah, I think they could have been filming on the same mountain at the same time.
Oh my God.
They're filming their extremely straight reality show, and then Brokeback Mountain is getting ready to completely change the culture around what cowboys mean on the same mountain.
That's wonderful. They must have it came out right around then. They must have come out after they had immediately canceled, and you can just picture the producers at home going, "Come on, we did basically the same thing. How was ours any different?" I mean, there were the murders and the crimes, but aside from that, it's exactly the same. I learned so much from this final episode.
Did you?
Yeah, I really did, from watching all of their dates, because this episode that we watched, it was just the final date. So each of the guys, Banks, Sharif, and Chris, go on I think it was 24, a full 24-hour all day date with
Tom Arnold. Her name was Tom Arnold.
That's right. It was Tom Arnold. They all go on a date with Tom Arnold. We really drill down into what is gay or not. And I did take some notes.
Okay, thank you.
I found out that that liking architecture is gay. You can't like architecture. Or
I want to pause you right there. When Banks started talking about architecture, they subtitled him with a fancy cursive font. So I want to include fancy cursive in a thing that is gay. As if the show's producers themselves were like, look at how gay this guy is.
Oh, I wish they'd done that the entire show. Every time they say something questionable, it just comes across in really sarcastic fancy cursive.
He owns a hairdryer.
It turns out breaking a man's arm is gay, but getting your arm broken is not.
Yes.
That was good to know.
Checks out.
If mosquitoes bite you, you're probably gay. That happened to Banks. A mosquito bit him, and she was like, "Huh, he didn't like that. That's weird."
I loved it so much that no matter what they did, she pondered it as if we did make out for 4 hours, but then he put on his underwear by hopping into them with both feet at the same time. Maybe that's something gay men do.
Yeah, she just she went completely insane trying to invent gaydar independently since she had absolutely none. And so she was just like, she only had the experiences she was having in this house as a reference. So therefore she was just like, all of this is gay. It's gay all the way down. Banks on his date tried to cook her some fancy food, and she decided that mushrooms were gay. He knew about how to cook mushrooms, and that's gay.
Yeah, cooking is gay is definitely was repeated, I feel like. If you knew how to cook, they were like, uh-oh.
No, it was just mushrooms, because Sharif on his date cooked for her, and she was like, this is extremely straight.
Well, he brought beef jerky to breakfast.
Well, he later
To
made some
breakfast,
shish
yes.
kebab. Maybe it was because it was a grill. He grilled. That's it. He grilled and Banks cooked in a pan. Cooking in a pan is gay. Grilling is not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I agreed with that. I was like, beef jerky for breakfast is inherently straight, so...
That's a pretty straight thing. One thing I did not learn is that saying, I'm a lesbian caught in a man's body, comes across as pretty gay. I probably could have told you that one. That's what Banks said right in front of her. And she was just like, that's such a Arrested Development fucking thing to say. You're like, huh, okay. Bats are gay.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't like when the bat attacked him.
Yeah, he didn't like when the bat attacked him.
All of
That's
Batman's
super
enemies are homosexuals.
That is true, though. Sorry. Canonically, yes.
gay. He got attacked by a bat, and she decided he looked kind of worried about that. Yeah, man. I'd be worried. Rabies, man. All sorts of things. Also, just like, I don't like getting attacked by bats. Little fancy lad, are we?
It sounds a little fancy. So, though Banks, there was the date they went on where he talked about the architecture, but then he also knew what a salad fork was. Everybody comment on that. They're like, oh, this fucking guy knows what all the silverware does. You're like, okay, guys. He knew what an orchid was. She like asked him to name the flower, and stupidly he did. Because I think it was a trap. I think she's like, do you know what that flower is called? He's like, yeah, that's an orchid. And she's like, busted. God, he talked about shoes. He was sitting with her, and he was doing like his stand-up bit. He's like, what's the deal with ladies' shoes? You get so many choices. Guys, they get no choices. Ladies have, oh, these beautiful, oh, what am I doing? Oh, this must sound so gay right now. And she's like, yeah, you keep digging a hole. Nobody really knows what anything means.
Well, as Bill established, digging a hole is very gay.
Except for the ones she's recently had sex with. And then a guy who is very straight. And between the two of them, they don't know anything about this community. And they're just making all these wild guesses, investigating each other. It was very funny to me. And the cursive font at the bottom, fantastic. To be fair, though, when Luciano cooked dinner, he made spinach pasta with like a summer dressing, and I was like, that's not a straight dish. I wouldn't go all the way to straight dish.
It's got your question and everything.
Yeah, if you're gonna cook, it's got to be just a hunk of meat. That's like all you can cook, unfortunately.
Meat on sticks. That's what Sharif did, and you're right.
Yeah, meat on a stick. Very straight.
Very straight. Not being able to ride a horse is pretty gay. See, that was surprising to me.
Yeah?
Because I always thought being able to ride a horse really well if you're not a cowboy.
Yeah, seems fancy.
I think if you're like galloping, you're straight, but if you're doing dressage, you're gay. That's how that works. Let me look it up on the Wikipedia. Yeah, I just looked up gay in Wikipedia, and I was exactly right. Hold on, let me just Google gay. Oh, this is a lot racier.
Yeah, you're going to have to go through a lot of research.
Yeah.
For the next podcast, what is gay? I just liked that being strapped to a horse and flailing around like, I don't know what the fuck is happening. Really gay.
He was all over the place on that horse. He's lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
Like that, he almost drove that horse off every cliff he was near.
That's 100% what it would look like if you put me on a horse. Because that's what happens if you put somebody that's never been on a horse. I could tell you that quite easily.
If he broke his arm falling off the horse, straight?
Back to straight. Yes, back to straight.
But then the horse would be gay because breaking arms is gay.
Yeah.
You kick the horse off. That horse has got to go.
That was one of the subclauses of the show. If a gay horse breaks her suitor's arm, the horse wins $1 million.
Einstein, 100, Frankfurt. Einstein, 100, Frankfurt. Unser Podcast genau. Und mit maximalen Schau. Dogg Frankfurt Podcast. Korrekt. Ja. Der Kraft ist nicht gratis, nicht ohne. Schick die in die Hundezone. 4 eine Stunde.